Hey Virgo, there is something in the air around you tonight that feels different. I want you to notice it before I say anything else. That particular quality of stillness that is not emptiness but fullness, the kind of charged and luminous quiet that descends just before something significant moves into view. You may have been feeling it already in small ways in the days leading up to this moment. A restlessness without a clear cause, a sense of something approaching that you cannot name but cannot quite dismiss either. A feeling, subtle but persistent, that the chapter you have been living in is preparing to turn its final page. That feeling was not random, that feeling was accurate, and what I am about to share with you may begin to give it a shape, a texture, a meaning that your soul has been waiting to recognize. There is someone who loves you. I want to say that simply and directly before anything else because it is the truth at the center of everything I am feeling in your energy tonight, and it deserves to be stated without decoration, without qualification, without being buried beneath layers of careful preamble. There is someone in your world or hovering at its edges, present in the periphery of your daily life in a way you may not have fully registered, who carries a feeling for you that is anything but ordinary. It is not a passing interest. It is not the casual warmth of someone who finds you pleasant company. What this person carries is something older and deeper and far more consuming than that. It is the kind of feeling that takes root in a person quietly, over time, without their permission, and grows until it fills so much of their interior world that they can no longer pretend, even to themselves, that it is something manageable or small. They have been keeping this to themselves, and I want to speak to why. Because the silence around this feeling is not indifference, it is almost the opposite. There's a tenderness in how carefully they have been holding what they feel, a delicacy in the way they have been carrying it without letting it spill. Perhaps they are afraid of what speaking it would change. Perhaps they have watched you from where they stand and doubted, in the way that people who feel deeply tend to doubt whether what they have to offer could possibly be enough for someone like you. Perhaps they have been waiting for the right moment, assembling a courage that is taking longer to gather than they expected, because the size of what they feel makes the risk of revealing it feel enormous in proportion. Whatever the particular shape of their hesitation, the feeling beneath it is not hesitation at all. It is certainty, a quiet, absolute, unshakable certainty about you that has only deepened with time. Dot. In the ancient symbolic landscape that I draw from in readings like this one, there is an image that speaks to exactly this kind of love, the love that lives in secret, that burns without being seen, that illuminates everything around it without yet having found a way to announce its own light. It is the image of a lantern carried beneath a cloak. The warmth is real, the light is real. The fire inside is steady and genuine and entirely without performance, but it has not yet been uncovered. It has not yet been held up for the world or for you to see. What I sense approaching is the moment of the uncovering, the moment when the cloak comes away and the light that has been burning privately, faithfully, without any audience is finally allowed to be seen for what it is and what it has always been. But before I speak to what this person may do, because the energy around their next move is something I feel very clearly and I want to address it with the care it deserves, I want to first speak to you, to the version of you that exists right now in this particular season of your life, and to what you may have been carrying without fully realizing the weight of it. because I don't believe you arrived at this reading by accident. I believe you arrived here because something in you needed to hear something that your daily life has not been saying loudly enough. And what I want to say is this: you may have become more accustomed to loving than to being loved, more practiced at giving than at receiving, more comfortable in the role of the one who reaches out, who holds space, who tends to the emotional landscape of the people around them, than in the role of the one who is reached for, held, tended to in return. That pattern, if it resonates with you, is not a character flaw. It is often the natural result of being someone with a large and genuine capacity for care, someone whose emotional intelligence is high enough that they can feel what others need and respond to it with a fluency that seems almost automatic. But there is a cost to that fluency, and the cost is this: it can leave you in a position where the depth of what you yourself need remains consistently underserved, where the quality of love you extend outward never quite finds its equal coming back. And over time, in ways that are quiet but cumulative, that imbalance can begin to make you question whether the kind of love you are actually capable of receiving, the kind that meets you fully, the kind that sees all of you and chooses all of you with the same wholeness that you offer, whether that kind of love is something that is actually available to you or simply something you provide for others. I want to speak directly to that quiet question, that private doubt, that corner of you that has wondered whether you are someone who is truly loved or simply someone who is useful, appreciated, comfortable to be around. Because the energy I am feeling around you tonight answers that question in a way that I hope reaches you somewhere true. You are loved, specifically, deeply, with a quality of feeling that has nothing to do with what you provide or how useful you are or how well you tend to the needs of the people around you. You are loved for the particular and irreplaceable way that you exist, for the texture of your presence, for the specific frequency that only you carry. And the person who feels this, the one who has been keeping it close and quiet and carefully hidden, they know you well enough to love, not a projection, not an idea, not a convenient version of you, but something that is much closer to the real thing. Now, let me speak to what they may do, because the title of this reading carries a warning, a gentle, caring, necessary warning, and I want to honor that with honesty rather than simply with reassurance. This person is preparing to make a move. Something is shifting in them. Some internal threshold is being approached. Some accumulation of feeling and courage and readiness is building toward a point of expression. And when it comes, when they finally allow what they have been holding to become visible, it may arrive with an intensity that surprises you. Not because it is overwhelming in a way that is threatening, but because you may not have been fully prepared for the depth of it, for how much they have been feeling, for how long, for how quietly and consistently and completely. The caution in this reading is not about their intentions. I sense those to be genuine, rooted in something real rather than something constructed. The caution is about your own readiness, about the possibility that when something this significant moves toward you, the old patterns, the ones that have protected you, the ones that have learned to be comfortable giving more than receiving, may instinctively try to deflect it, to minimize it, to find reasons why it cannot be as real as it feels, why the depth of feeling being offered must somehow be a misreading, or an exaggeration or something that will not last. That deflection, if it comes, would be worth noticing, worth gently, consciously overriding, because the gift that may be approaching deserves to be met with the same openness and the same wholehearted willingness that you have so consistently offered to others. There is also the question of new beginnings, because that is the other great theme moving through your energy tonight, and it is inseparable from what is approaching in this connection. Something in your life may be preparing to start again. Not in the way that desperate or impatient beginnings feel hurried, unstable, built on the rubble of something that hasn't yet been fully processed, but in the way that genuine new beginnings feel when they arrive at the right time, solid, spacious, full of a particular kind of quiet excitement that is different from the anxious excitement of something forced. The kind of beginning that feels, from its very first moments, like a return to something true rather than a departure into something uncertain. In the symbolic language of transformation, new beginnings are always preceded by a period of necessary ending. The old form must release before the new one can take shape. And what I sense in your energy is that a release has been happening, perhaps without you fully recognizing it as such, perhaps in the form of things that felt like loss or stagnation, or the quiet frustration of a life that seems to be moving more slowly than you need it to. Those experiences, uncomfortable as they have been, may have been the release, may have been the necessary emptying that creates the space into which something genuinely new can enter. Space is not emptiness. Space is potential, and the space that may have been opening in your life recently could be exactly the space that what is coming needs in order to arrive. I also want to speak to the quality of what this new beginning may feel like, because I think it is worth painting that picture with some care. It may feel different from what you have experienced before, different in a way that is initially slightly disorienting, because it may lack the dramatic turbulence that can sometimes masquerade as passion. The push and pull that can feel like intensity but functions more like instability. What may be approaching instead has a different texture, a warmth that is steady rather than volatile, a presence that is consistent rather than intermittent, a kind of love that shows up not only in the grand gestures, but in the ordinary moments, in the small, daily, unremarkable acts of choosing you that accumulated over time become the most extraordinary evidence of all that someone is genuinely, durably, truly there. That kind of love, the steady kind, the kind that does not require drama to prove its depth, may be something you are still learning to fully trust. May be something that, because it is quieter than what you have known before, initially reads as less rather than more. I want to gently invite you to reconsider that reading if it arises, because the steadiness is not the absence of passion. It is passion that has matured into something it can sustain. And what it can sustain over the long geography of a life shared is far more valuable than what the turbulent version, for all its electrical intensity, tends to be able to hold. You are being moved towards something real, something that has been quietly, faithfully forming in the unseen world of feeling and intention and unspoken truth, waiting for the right conditions to become visible. The conditions may be arriving. The person who has been holding this secret may be preparing to hold it no longer. And you, the version of you that has survived everything that came before this moment, that has grown in ways you may not yet fully see, that is more ready than you know for the kind of love that actually lasts. You may be standing closer to a genuine new beginning than you have allowed yourself to believe. Let yourself believe it. Not recklessly, not without your own discernment and your own wisdom guiding the way, but with enough openness to actually receive what is moving toward you. You have given so much. You have extended so much warmth and care and genuine investment into the lives of the people around you. This may be the moment when some of that returns to you, not as debt repaid, but as grace, as the natural flowering of a life lived with as much heart as you have lived yours. Stay present for it. Stay open. Stay anchored in the truth of what you deserve, which is nothing less than the full, steady, unwavering, madly genuine love of someone who sees you clearly and chooses you completely. That is not too much to ask for. That is exactly what you were always meant to have. If this reading reached you tonight, if something here felt less like a stranger's words and more like a truth you have been quietly waiting to hear, trust that feeling. It is telling you something important. Subscribe and stay close, because there is more unfolding in your energy than one reading can hold. And what comes next may be exactly the confirmation your heart has been waiting for.